Well, welcome everyone. This is our final in the Fall 25 Mini Moodle Workshop series. I think that's the first time I said that without messing up one of the words. So today we're going to talk about quiz question banks. So first, what is the purpose of a question bank? That will be the first topic that we're going to talk about. Then we're going to look at creating categories and adding new questions into those categories. And then finally, we're going to talk about creating categories and organizing any existing questions you may have in your question bank into those categories. So what is a question bank? Simply, it's a repository. And like you saw in the first slide that I had an image of a filing cabinet. And I like to think of a question bank as your filing cabinet of questions for your quiz so that you can easily go in and pull out whatever file of questions you want and plunk them right into a quiz versus having a repository of just, sometimes several hundred questions and trying to figure out which ones you actually want to put in a particular quiz. Question banks are unique to each course, and you automatically have access to a question bank if you have the role of instructor in that course. So in some courses where you may have multiple instructors in there, they will both have access to that same question bank. That being said, if any of those instructors make any edits within it, Moodle will log that. So you can see what version of a question it is, who last made an edit to it, and when they made that edit as well. If you choose to create a quiz without going through the question bank, those questions are automatically added to the question bank in the course. They are just not categorized. And finally, you can and you should be organizing into categories because this allows for easy sharing, easy modification, and more importantly, it's easier to add to quizzes and tests. I do recommend that you first create your question directly in the question bank, then you can pull them into a quiz or a test. So accessing the question bank, easy peasy. When you open up your course, there is a More menu, and you simply just choose Question Bank from that menu. And as a reminder, Question Bank is unique to each of your courses. So to access a question bank for a particular course, you have to start within that course. This will then bring you to what's kind of a somewhat overwhelming screen within Moodle. There's a lot of information here. So if you have previously used a quiz within your Moodle course, and therefore there's questions sitting in your question bank, it's going to look something like this. So it will, you have your headers, will say the question name. It allows you to edit it. It'll tell you if that question is ready to use. Again, who created it and when, so you can see version history. If there's any comments that have been added to it. Moodle also will indicate if it feels that your questions need to be checked, if it finds that maybe it's not set up correctly or something like that. And then you'll see the modified at the very end. So you see who's created it, who's modified it, and you'll actually see how many times this question has been used throughout your course. So Shannon, you had made mention that you might have had some duplicate questions going through two different quizzes. This here will actually say, you can see that this collisions question was only used one time. If you see that it's used multiple times, that may not indicate a problem. It could mean that this question was used with an initial quiz and then maybe within a midterm exam or a final exam. But it's just a quick checks and balance without actually having to go through each individual quiz. And then you'll actually see last use. So if it was ever used or not, and the date. So categories. So within your question bank, there was see the categories drop down. Initially, it defaults to questions. If you change that to categories, it will then show you any categories that have been set up within your course. If you don't have any categories, it will simply say default, typically the course name or number in it, and then the number of questions, which is within the parentheses next to that. So you can see in this course, there are 5 different categories set up. 3 of them are based on chapters for the textbook that's being used, and 2 of them are specific to tests. The nice thing about using the question bank, like most things in Moodle, it's highly customizable. You don't have to say, I want chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You can do that if you'd like. You could simply say that you wanted this chapter 2 to be analyzing transactions without chapter 2 in it. It's always good to keep in mind when you're creating your categories, one, really what your course looks like and how you have your course set up, but also, do you anticipate maybe the textbook changing from year to year? So think about those things, or having a new version of the textbook when you're creating and naming your categories. So in order to create a new category, you would change that questions drop down to categories, and then simply, easy peasy, click add category. It will then bring you to a window where you need to fill out the information for this category. So it will list the parent category automatically as that default course name, course title. And that is fine to leave that as that. It will just simply remember that parent category is your filing cabinet. Then your category is the folder within your filing cabinet. You do have the option to then have subcategories, which I don't see many folks doing that, but you could say, for example, have a category be chapter 1, and then subcategories being specific topics within chapter 1. Again, it's all in how you want to set this up, how you envision bringing these into different quizzes. But again, subcategories aren't necessary, but they're available to you. Category info. It's not a required field, but I really encourage you not to skip over this phase. Simply because someone else may be picking up your course next semester or co-teaching with you. And it's always important for the category information to really specify what is in this category without having to look through all the questions. And an example I put in here is if you're receiving these questions directly from a publisher, and then each year you get an updated list of questions, I would highly encourage you within category info to put the edition of the textbook in there that these questions come from, the year, if need be, or any specific information about to elaborate on the topic of the category as well. Okay. And then when you're done with that, you would simply click add category. So in this case, I created a category called Chapter 4 exam, and you can see the 0 next to it indicates there's no questions in that category yet. So again, that's an easy way to see if there's any questions in it versus having to open up the category and look to see the questions. Okay. If you click on the ellipse over on the right-hand side, it gives you a menu for that particular category. You can move it. So as I showed in a previous slide, there was 5 different categories. You can reorder them easily. So if you accidentally put chapter 2 before chapter 1, for example, you can reorder them. The students don't see that, but it's more for your own organizational purposes. You can edit the settings, which brings you to where you name the category, list what the parent category is, and any additional information. You can export the category, which will export all the questions within it, which allows you to then easily share this amongst different classes if you'd like, because we can then import it into other classes. You can then also delete the category. Be very careful about that, especially if you have questions in that. Okay. So to add a question to a category, again, take time to look over these screens. There's a lot of info in it. But first, you would want to make sure that you have the correct category. So in this case, we can see Chapter 4 exam is listed there. If it says something else, you would have to click on that type or select menu to choose the correct category that you would like to place it in. Once you have the correct category selected, then you can click on create a new question. Now, this is simply for creating new questions here, not for moving existing questions into a category. Now you can add existing questions into a category. And one thing, to go back to the previous slide, I'm not walking you through how to create a quiz at this point, but more for categorizing. We can certainly work with you one-on-one if you need assistance with creating a quiz itself, because there's a lot of different question types. That's a whole different workshop right there. Okay. So now this step is if you have uncategorized questions that you've already used in a quiz that you want to now place in categories. Again, I highly recommend you do this. So first you need to have the filter set. The filters should already be set to the course default category, which is where all those questions are going to be sitting. Moodle will automatically place them into this default. And the name will vary a bit depending on the course that you're in. You now want to then go to, by clicking on the type or select down, you can view the different categories that you've created, okay? And always make sure you click apply filter. It doesn't automatically apply it for you. You need to click that button. So next you need to select the questions that you want to categorize. So it will allow you to check off the questions, and you can check off multiple or even just one if you just need to move one question from one category to another. Once you select the ones that you want, you then have to choose move to, which is all the way down at the bottom of the screen. Then it says, what category do you want to move these into? So when you click that drop down, and here I just chose quiz 5, category 1, which was in the course I was in, you can choose the specific category that you'd like and then choose move to. And then it will bulk move all of those questions directly into that category for you. I've said a lot at once. I don't expect all of you to be able to go in now to do it, but there are a few great tutorials out there that actually have step-by-step to walk you through this process. The first is Wagner College. They've got some great resources up on YouTube. So I have a link to that. And then also there's a free Udemy course out there that's similar as well too. There are other YouTube resources out there. Some of them are fairly dry. These are two that I think are probably the best and are using a version that is the same as or pretty close to the version of Moodle that we're using right now. You'll have access to these slides in the lobby of the Zoom event. So these will all be in here with these links. These videos are like maybe 15 minutes, so it won't take a whole lot of time, but I highly recommend those. And I guess finally, questions. So we zipped through things super quick. This is supposed to be more of a high-level overview to show you the capabilities of this. And then definitely go through, watch those videos, and certainly come back to us with any questions that you have. Ryan and I are always available to meet one-on-one to help you organize your question banks, get them all set up. But any questions that I can answer now for all of you?
I'm assuming when you
go ahead, Shannon. Sorry.
I'm assuming when you copy a course, it copies the questions.
Great question. Yes, 100%. The whole question bank and the organization of it will copy over to the next course. Yes.
So Shannon, you've been using them. All I'm doing, I guess I'm throwing this out, not in question form, but I've got multiple choice questions, and then I have reactions when they get them wrong. and all I want is it to mark that they've done it. So I actually, instead, I don't have it automatically doing that. I just go back through. So if they have 0.9, I just change that to 1. I just run through it and modify it if they've done it at all. And that way they get another, it's more like flashcards than a quiz.
Oh, that leads me to another thought that there is a great H5P option for flashcards.
H5P, what's that?
So
Yes.
yes, so H5P is a built-in Moodle suite of tools. Think of it like a large toolbox that allows you to add in interactive elements, kind of like flashcards, like you're talking about. There's a lot of different things that you can do with that. One of the things that it can do is if you set up like for instance, you're talking about kind of like a flashcard situations. You want to see if students are interacting with something. You're not really caring so much about the point value. You just kind of want to see if they're interacting with things.
Right.
H5P will give you those detailed reports too about what they clicked on. It allows for the same feedback type of parameters like what you're doing with the question bank right now. That would be a good time. If I in the chat I put my booking page. Book a time with me because I can walk you through how to set up an H5P module.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do, there's flashcards, there's word search,
Word search, there's like
there's
aligning the
crossword
images. Oh yeah.
puzzles, which is great for like vocabulary that you were looking to
Yep.
test their knowledge on. But it makes it fun and interactive. They are gradable too, if you wanted to have that be
Yeah.
gradable, or it could be ungradable.
Yep.
But it has to be marked complete.
Oh, crossword could be jazzy because I mean, again, it is just vocab. Why not?
Mhm.
Why not in that format?
Yeah.
And yeah, I am just trying to confirm time with the material. In this case, right? I'm not using it so much to capture what percentage you know at one time. If they're doing it over during the
Right.
quiz and getting the points back, that works fine for me. There may be, I feel like other subjects really do need to confirm that time. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah, oh
someone's
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
right.
it's going to depend on the use case, right? Like there's some folks that don't need to use H5P at all. They've got all their question banks set up and it's working
Right.
flawlessly. For folks that really want that additional kind of step or just something different to throw at their students,
Okay.
H5P fits a mold really well. And typically, if you're
I'll type
looking for
this
something
in.
within like Moodle Basic, and you're not finding the experience that you want your students to have, typically there's going to be something within H5P that's going to come a lot closer. So yeah, book a time with me. You and I can walk through some of the different tools. We can come up with a couple different ideas. Absolutely.
Is there a way to play with it before I book?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you go into literally any course that you're teaching within Moodle, Becky at the beginning of this showed you that more drop down that's on the right hand side of like your main bar there. Uh,
Yeah.
Underneath question bank, I think it's like 2 or 3 down, and I'm forgetting.
It's
There's an
Alright.
just one
option.
down. Content bank.
Yeah, content bank. That's the option you're going to be looking for. That's the house for every single one of your H5P modules. You can start to play around with the buttons within there. Just kind of take a look. There's also h5p.org, and then another website that I have been using pretty judiciously. I'll put it in the chat so I don't have to spell it. It's called Lumi Education. They offer a kind of like a web-based version of H5P that you can kind of experiment around with. I use it all the time because it's a lot faster interface than our current Moodle setup. So when I'm just kind of zipping around editing H5P files, I tend to go to Lumi first and then import it, but it's up to you.
Excellent.
I can tell you that creating those H5Ps was not easy.
Not easy.
And
No.
I'm pretty tech savvy.
Yeah.
So,
Right,
It can
right.
be-
I mean, I have to be careful on that because it's true when it's yeah. I think I'm tech savvy. I don't anymore. I used to think so, but
Well,
Lumi.
go in,
Okay.
press the buttons, and when you encounter something that breaks, that's when you call me.
Gotcha.
And a good
But-
rule of thumb with these is because it can be cumbersome, start small.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well,
with
You
that.
know you want to make flashcards. You've already got the content for the flashcards. Just see if you can make a conversion 1-to-1.
and I know we talked about this already, but my students had a lot of problems with them, like not especially the video ones.
Yeah.
they didn't see the little purple, hand that they had to click on. And so they didn't answer the questions. And then even if they did answer the questions, when they got to the end, they didn't hit submit. And so it's not intuitive to them. Like
Yeah.
so I'm actually just using Edpuzzle, which stinks because I liked that it was imported right into the gradebook.
Right.
But
Would it be helpful, Shannon, if I created like a little like student side tutorial for your students if you continue to
I mean,
use
I
H5P?
created screenshots and I
Great.
circled the purple hand, and I
Yeah.
know, like, sort of to preemptively warn them about it, but it doesn't mean they're actually all going to
Right.
do it anyway. Like, and I just wish it was more intuitive. It's
Yeah.
not, because it's really not. And I don't have those problems with Edpuzzle. Like it
Right.
pops up on the screen. It's very odd. The video stops and the question pops up, and they can't go on until they answer the question. I don't understand why the H5Ps don't work like that, but
H5P interactive video does have that option actually. I once again, book a time, I'll show you.
that it's there. I already have the questions. It's not, it asks the question, but for some reason they can,
It
I
doesn't
think
stop the video?
when I preview it, it does, but the students are telling me they didn't see the
Oh, they're
purple
just
hand.
okay, all right.
So
I mean, that's the problem with all of this. When I do Grammarly authorship, if someone tells me I can't find the thumbprint,
Right.
I have to decide, well, do I flunk you for the entire course? Right. And
Yeah.
I know I'll end up with a me, I mean, I know Elms won't let me do that. And I don't want to do that. So, but you know what I mean? I mean, that's the constant problem.